Hello, everybody. Sorry, just a minor technical difficulty there. Thank you, Jay. So yeah, I'm going to jump right into it here. And I wanted to start off with the graphic that many people have probably seen in the past. This is our strategic plan on how we're going to reach 52 bushels per acre by the year 2025. So when we first rolled out this plan, we were averaging approximately 34 bushels per acre. And over time here, we've increased that to about 41 bushels per acre through increased management and genetic improvements. But what we've seen recently is that we've kind of plateaued at that 40 to 41 bushels per acre. And we do need to continue striving to reach that 52 bushels per acre and continue to address challenges and opportunities in each of these pillars. Of course, today we're going to highlight fertility management, so that's where we'll be spending the majority of our time. I would just like to point out that we can have the best fertility or nutrient management plan, but if we're not optimizing the rest of our agronomy practices, we're not going to see the benefit from that fertility plan. So it really does all work very closely together. Now, tied in with that strategic plan, we do have sustainability goals as well. So just taking a quick look at them, when we achieve that 52 bushels per acre, we're going to see an 18% reduction in fuel use per bushel of canola that we produce. And really that's coming from yield intensification. Similarly, we'll see a 40% decrease in the amount of land required to produce a ton of canola, again, coming from that yield intensity on intensification on that land. And as we know, as canola is growing, it's sequestering carbon from the atmosphere. And again, once we achieve that yield target, we'll be sequestering an additional 5 million tons of greenhouse gases annually. Probably more importantly, I guess, or last but not least, what we're talking about today is improvements in soil and water health and utilizing the 4R nutrient stewardship practices. And within the canola industry, we have a goal to see 90% of canola acres using 4R management practices. And so really where we're at, we've got a little bit to go to get to that 90% level. But the encouraging thing for me right now is that there are people out there using 4R management practices without having made a conscious decision to do so. So really that tells me that that people are seeing the benefit of these practices and are already implementing them on their farm. And now we just want to see that continued growth of uptake. So our Canola Council agronomy team put our heads together to see what we could come up with to address that yield gap from 40 to 41 bushels per acre and how we're going to achieve 52 bushels per acre. And these are the top 5 priorities that we landed on. And it's very similar actually to the initial plan that we laid out with the pillars to get to 52 bushels per acre. So I'll just take a quick rundown of these priorities. First and foremost, we identified the use of 4R nutrient management practices, and we'll come back to that one in a moment. Also choosing the best seed traits for each field, achieving a uniform 5 to 8 plants per square foot, identifying and managing the top yield robbers, so looking at insect and disease pests, and harvesting all seeds and delivering them at a #1 grade, so optimizing that harvest process. So we're kind of talking, the underlying theme today is challenges and challenging conditions, and they really do play a role in how we implement these agronomic practices, not just for nutrient management, but even looking at something like achieving that uniform 5 to 8 plants per square foot. That really does have a large environmental impact. Looking at 4R management practices, though, which is what we're all here to talk about today, we recognize that not everybody's going to be starting at the same management level when it comes to fertilizer and nutrient management. Some of the lower hanging fruit that we've identified that we'd like to see greater uptake on would be things like increased soil testing, and really that would that once we pair that soil testing with appropriate yield targets for each field or in different areas, we can really start making improved right rate decisions. Similarly, we also would like to see a greater use of varying that rate from field to field, and really not treating every field the same, because we know that there is going to be differences there. And And so some people are already there. So maybe the next step would be looking at variable rate and zone management within fields to optimize production that way. So there's a number of things there, and I'm not going to get too far into 4R because our next presentation is going to focus on that a little bit. But I did want to set the stage as to where we are today and leading into the planting season of 2022. And so really, I could have thrown that great big red map up talking about drought conditions from last year, but I think everybody's probably tired of seeing that. But it is one of the main underlying factors of where we are today. It was dry last year. There was nutrient carryover that wasn't utilized by the crop. So that really enhanced the need for things like soil testing last fall. And then in a lot of areas, we did see some moisture late in the season that caused a lot of regrowth. So now we've got nutrient tied up in some of that regrowth material. Over the winter, we've had varying rates of snowfall across the prairies. So there's definitely going to be some situations there where maybe there's excess runoff and maybe some pooling of water in some of the low spots, and some areas are still remaining quite dry. So that's kind of some of the challenges that we'll be facing with nutrient management this year that's going to impact the decisions that we make. If we look at things like prices, inputs, and commodities, again, I don't have any charts or graphs to share with you on that, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that those trends are trending upwards. So really there's some challenges there, but there's also opportunity, and we want to make sure we're able to capitalize on that, on those commodity prices, but realizing that, input prices and some of the logistics around some of the inputs are going to be a bit of a challenge. Also, there's the consumer awareness, emissions targets, that whole environmental piece, and that's one that's not going away. So we need to get in front of that as agronomists and producers, and really showcase the things that we are doing to improve our management practices and show that to the world as well. So really, that's a good tie-in for 4R, because it really does take a lot of these challenges, and it's a flexible program that allows us to optimize our production, especially with regards to nutrient management. And I'm going to leave it at that. I look forward to your questions, and hopefully we can have a good discussion here following the presentations. So thank you very much.